Well, hey there, self leaders and CEO. Welcome back to Settle for More podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today for what I'm hoping will be a very powerful and meaningful conversation. So, whether you've tuned in before or this is your first time listening, I just wanted to extend a very warm welcome to you. Today's episode for me is personal. And it's really about the experiences that life throws at you, whether that's an illness, hardship, or personal challenges. And for me, as I reflect, which is usually what I do before I sit down to record a podcast, um, I'm thinking about, we're approaching Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And every year as this time approach, it caused me to pause and reflect. So it's no surprise that this year I'm actually doing the same thing. I've been reflecting on my own journey through breast cancer and how I had to sit with that experience before deciding how to navigate it. And that was tough, right? That period when I'm making a decision how I want to move forward. And if you know someone who is currently battling cancer, if you know someone who is a cancer survivor, or if you know someone who is going through any kind of really life altering challenges, I want to encourage you now to stop. Just pause this episode for a moment and share this episode with them. Maybe you know someone who happens to be in the middle of their own healing journey and needs to hear this, right? It's okay to pause and do some reflection as to who could benefit from this episode and share it with them, right? What is important for us to understand as we interact with others and connect with others is that we all navigate our struggles differently. And there is no one size fit all approach, right? Each person's approach is personal and individualized based on where they are. So I want you to take a moment now and send someone that you care about, someone who might need a bit of support today. Just send them this episode, right? Okay, so I am actually sitting up in bed with an ice pack tied around my waist, particularly focusing on my back because guess what? I injured my back. I decided that I wanted to, pick up my exercise routine. I started yoga, and my last yoga class was such a good class. Like I could feel my body just saying, "Thank you, Nicole." The day after my yoga class was garbage day, and somehow the men spilled, this bag on the road. And all the contents weren't yet scattered on the road. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to grab this bag before I have to clean this up later on. Well, little did I know that that would throw me into just days of sitting up, icing my back. So I just bent over. I didn't even reach the item I was trying to pick up. And I felt this sharp pain just literally walking across my back. I could barely make it inside the house. Oh, God. And so I've been in pain ever since. It's on and off. I would say my progress is somewhat marginal. I'm on painkillers, I'm icing, I have a machine that does some massage, and I've been hearing from most of you who've reached out to me on Instagram that back pain happens to be no joke. So when I tell you this is a lesson for me, it is indeed a lesson. And what this has caused me to do is to slow down, right? I can't do much, and I can only do what I can when I'm not really, you know, laced up with meds, right? And it led me to think that in today's world, we often feel the pressure to respond quickly to life's challenges, to immediately fight back or to act as if nothing has changed. But this back injury has taught me that sometimes you can't do that. And when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I felt this pressure too, to immediately do something, to fight back, to fix it. But then I also knew that I needed time to sit with the diagnosis before making any decision at all. I had to be mindful and process what it meant, not just physically, which was a lot, but emotionally and mentally. And as I'm here sitting with this experience with my back, this theme of sitting with our experience has become crucial, that I recognize it's important. But what I also recognize is it has become central to how I approach challenges these days, the very tough challenges. And so before you rush out to take action, and before you rush out to take any action when you're faced with something that has rocked you to the core, it is really important to take a step back and ask ourselves, how do I want to navigate this? And whether you're dealing with an illness or a major life event, it's really okay to give yourself permission to pause, because sometimes life will force you to pause. And sometimes the best way forward begins with a moment of stillness and reflection. And so when I was diagnosed, I knew that it wasn't going to be something that I wanted to immediately share, especially with everyone. I wanted to figure out for myself how I wanted to move through this experience and who I wanted to be by my side. And this is a decision that many people will face, and it can be so overwhelming. How do I want to navigate this? And who will I take along this journey with me? And for me, sitting first with a diagnosis without the noise of the outside opinions, right? Because once they started to come in, if I hadn't determined my approach, it would have been so overwhelming and my anxiety level would have been high. So, in those moments, it really allowed me to process my emotions and to come to terms with the journey ahead. And it was only then that I could start to make decision about treatment support, because you have a choice. You can choose not to go through treatment. You can choose to ask for more information, right? But more importantly, it gave me an opportunity on how I really wanted to navigate. I got crystal clear about how I wanted to live my life beyond cancer. And I think that's what really, really, really was like my guiding star. How do I want to come out of this experience? What do I want to do beyond this experience? Right? And so if you are someone you know is facing a challenge, remember it's okay to take the time you need to sit with those feelings and to process the feelings before you act. And healing, however you are choosing to define it, in whatever form it takes, isn't linear. It is deeply, deeply personal. And so, as I navigated my breast cancer journey, I realized that part of the healing is choosing who to allow into your space in that moment. Really, really important that you take the time to choose, who do I want in my space at this time? Who do I want to experience this journey with me? Really important that you pause and you ask yourself that question and wait for the answer. And so it's not about excluding everyone, but is being just conscious that everyone is not equipped to walk with you through tough times. And that's okay. It's okay that you're taking the time to be thoughtful and planful about who will provide the kind of support that you need. And that is why taking that initial time to decide, what kind of support do I want or need in this journey, is really, really, really important. Really taking the time to determine that and to decipher that. Very, very important. And so once you've done that, and once you have a picture or an idea, it's imperative that you create your circle of support. You see, we often think that sharing our struggles immediately with everyone is necessary. And for you, it might be. And it's also okay to be selective. The right people, when you've taken the time to select or choose, will help you to create a space where you can heal at your own pace. And so, sitting with the experience and deciding who to let in, believe it or not, it is an act of self care. And so, I want you to pause and ask yourself, maybe this is for you, or maybe this is for someone that you're witnessing. If you're going through something right now, take a moment to just reflect on how are you navigating it? Are you giving yourself enough room to breathe, to think, and to process? Are you being selective about the voices that you're allowing into your healing space? Hmm. Just think about it. How are you navigating this? Do you allow yourself time to sit with the experience before moving forward, or do you feel rushed to take action? And if you're sitting in the middle of your journey, I want to encourage you to take this time to reflect on what you need, not what others are expecting from you, but what do you truly need in this moment to heal? What do you need? Healing isn't one size fit all. So others will share how they healed, how they navigated it, but that doesn't mean that's the process or the path for you. And so, whether it's going through medical treatment, whether you need emotional support or spiritual growth, whatever that is, each of us must be willing to choose the path that feels right for us. And so, after I sat with my diagnosis, I had to determine how I wanted to move forward. For some people, that was immediate action. For others, it's taking the time to research and reflect and to understand their options. Remember that this is your journey. Whatever challenge you're facing, personal to you, and you have a right to decide how to navigate it. And it's important that you really be intentional about blocking out the noise and listen to your own needs. What is right for you may not be right for me, and that's okay. And if you are someone who is supporting someone who is dealing with a major issue, remember that your role isn't to push them into a solution, but rather to give them that space to decide what's right for them. And believe me when I tell you, that is the greatest support that you can give. And so, as I continue to share my experience and my journey with breast cancer, I'm hoping it's reminding you to take the time for yourself, to sit with your own experiences, to navigate healing your own way, whether you are dealing with breast cancer or any other life altering event. The journey is yours to shape. And for me, it's about honoring the time that I took to reflect, the time to process, the time to choose my path forward. And so, as we approach Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is like, I think, 2 days away, My hope is that this conversation will serve as a reminder to check in with yourself and those you love. Maybe it's just asking, what do you need from me? Because healing doesn't always follow a straight line, and it's okay to take it day by day. And sometimes the most important action is to pause and reflect before taking that next step. And so before we wrap this session up, I want to leave you with a couple of things to think about. Are you taking time to sit with your own experiences, whatever that might be? Are you giving yourself the space to decide how you want to move forward? What will you do to remind yourself that healing doesn't happen overnight and it doesn't have to look the same for everyone? And so I invite you to share this episode with your community, with your groups, if you know someone who's going through a tough time, whether it be cancer or any other life challenges. I'm going to invite you and encourage you to share this episode with them and let them know it's okay to take the time to reflect and choose a path that feels right for them. And sometimes the greatest gift that we can give to others is a space to process things on their own term. And so remember your steps. Acknowledge what's happening. Acknowledge it and make peace with it. Not saying that you won't do anything, but making peace means you have acknowledged and you have accepted that this is where you are. And take a moment to envision what your life could be like beyond the experience. And make note to self. And then ask yourself, in this moment, whether it be day by day, week by week, hour by hour, what or who do I need to support me to move forward? What or who do I need to hold me? What does support look like for me? It's okay to take the time. It's okay to pause. It's okay to remember that you have the power to choose your course of healing. Because when you do, you are in fact settling for more.